Hello, fellow map makers. Welcome to another live map making session tonight. Hope you're all doing good, and I hope that sound is working. Please let me know in the chat. It does look okay, everything here. Yes, thank you very much, Sue. Sounds apparently good. So we are ready to get started. I'm Ralph Sherman of Profantasy Software, and I'm here tonight to show you a bit of Campaign Cartographer. Actually, today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the workings of some parts of Campaign Cartographer and also into editing outside of Campaign Cartographer to create some graphics files for roof shading. Roofs and roof shading is the topic for tonight, and we're going to start out by looking at some of the capabilities that were originally introduced with City Designer and are now already part of the basic software, but are used across most of the city styles. All right, as usual, if you do have any questions during the session, please post them in the chat. We'll be aiming to answer them directly or show solutions on screen if we can. Also, if you do enjoy the videos, please give the channel a subscribe and the video a like. That does make it more visible across the whole YouTube and helps the channel. All right, so let's get going. What we've got here on screen is a little sample map from the Simulset 5 Cities of Schley, which also makes good use of the roof shading. And you see all these lovely tiled roofs here and other parts of the city with shaded like the sun is coming up from the upper left, with the roofs facing that direction bright and the roofs going in the other direction darker. Oh, I notice I do have my mouse cursor highlight off. Let me turn that on. There we go. Oh, that makes it a bit easier for you to follow my mouse movements. Okay, so volume seems to be fine on my side here, not any different from usual. So it does seem quite okay. I can't really turn it any further up here. I might be able to. Microphone. There's the speakers, the sound mixer, and let's try it. Perhaps this is a little bit louder. Is this better from the volume? Let me know whether that's any better. Otherwise, I'll just try to speak up a little. All right, so let's get on. All right. Yes, the pattern on the shirt is obviously cutting interference on the video. All right. So sorry about that, but that's nothing I'm going to change right now. So I was talking about the roof shading up here, and the neat thing is I can change the direction on the light here, and on the map I can go into the global sun. That's a right click on the display, the speed button, and there I can set the direction of the sun. Here it's 135 degrees. So let's say if I wanted to change that to the light coming from the upper right, not the upper left, so 45 degrees, apply, and you can see the shadow goes to the left of the buildings. Or even if I wanted to go minus 45, so from the lower right, apply, and my shadow is on the upper left of the buildings. And this happens across all the different symbols and the buildings in the map. And I don't need to do anything to fix individual shadows. Also with the drop shadows here on the trees, the shadows that the buildings and the trees are casting, they are going in the same direction. You will probably be aware of that, but if you're a bit newer to the mapping, especially if you haven't done many city maps, that might be something you've not been aware of. So how do we create these kind of buildings with shadows? Let's create a new map and take a quick look. I'm going to create a new map type cities, and I'm going to go for the cities of Schley, the same style here, just because the buildings have many interesting roofs and are nice to see on screen. So click next, and let's make it a small map. It's 620 feet. Finish, and then I'm going to go to our video folder. There's my folder, and I'm just going to make this a temporary map. Here's our blank map. And the first thing you can obviously do is put down a house building. I'll just grab the simple rectangular house shape. See, if I have it just on the mouse cursor, there's no difference in the roof shading. That's because the symbol is not on the map and no shading is applied. But if I place it down, there we are. The symbol is lighted from the upper left, and the roof there is light while it's dark on the opposite side. If I rotate the same symbol and place that, this is actually not the same symbol. That's because I've got a random selection here. Let's just open up so I'll grab the same symbol again, and if I place it in this direction, this looks hardly shaded. That's because the light is coming from the upper left, and both roofs are at the same shading. So I place it down here. Even if I rotate that by 180 degrees, place it down, shades is the same. Something a little bit at a not a 45-degree angle, and you'll see the shadows are there, but not quite as pronounced. So basically the symbol reacts to the light that's coming in. Again, if I go in here, say I'm going to look global sun, and I'm going to say I want the light coming directly from the east, so that's 0 degrees, then all the shading changes accordingly. All right, that's one way to create buildings that use this shading. And if I grab something more complicated building, you'll see that the roofs are still all individually set to respond to the lighting. Now, we do have another option to draw building roofs, and that's through the house command. If I go into house, you'll see I've got the options to create many different shapes. Well, the symbols are a bit more elaborate and more nicely drawn on the edges and everything. They are fixed in the shapes they have. I can only rotate them and change their scaling, but these house entities can have lots of different and fairly complicated changes. So let's grab one here with a T-shaped building, a roof that has slanted roofs on all sides, and insert. I can just like this, and I get a house that uses a similar roof pattern and also got a little bit of a broken up edge, and fairly well matches to the existing house symbols in this style, and can be used to build shapes that are not available through these symbols. Clicking a symbol, and you can see it also uses the same shading direction. And what happens if I move this house around and even rotate it? Here we go. There you can see it's got the same effects, that the shadows adjust according to the direction the house is facing. Also, if I copy this, there we go. So in this way, it behaves very similar to the symbols. And one way you can create more symbols that you can use easily, like the ones that are already in, you can make these house entities into symbols. So say you want a specific house shape that you don't have in the set. So say you wanted one of these greenhouse buildings, an L shape, you look at the existing L shapes in the set, and these are the ones in there with this specific house style or roof style, and you want something that's kind of different, that doesn't have the very separate or one dominant roof and one which is basically an attachment. So you're going to draw something, grab an L-shaped roof here, otherwise the same. And this is, you would like this basic L shape as a symbol. So we can just go in there and say symbols, define symbol, do it, give it, no, we don't need to prefix this, L shape custom, center as, or we could use the center bottom as the insertion point. Go. Defining symbol removes it from the map, and if you take a look at the symbol manager, you'll find the new custom shape, which only does look very strange here on the display. That's because it's made of entities and stuff that don't display very well here in the symbol manager, but it can work quite like the other symbol. What we should do, if we take a look here at the options of the symbol, they go on the symbol sheet, and what we should do here, we should set the same option on this new symbol, and we can now grab the symbol here and just use this like any other symbol. It's not the ideal solution. You see that it's fairly slow to move and to display at the cursor. That's because it's got a fairly complicated multipoly shape due to the tile edges that are drawn on there, but it still works fine with the shadows and the alignment like the other symbols. And you could now save that as a different symbol catalog and reuse that in other drawings as you like, with any other symbols that you create yourself. The only problem is the display is not very nice, and there's some limitations. For example, the symbols in the style align to roads, which requires a certain special entity in there, which these won't do. And so they're not perfect, but they are absolutely serviceable. But they, house shape can't do some stuff. So for example, let's take a quick look here at some of the other buildings. And for example, this building has, oh no, that's not a dome actually. I'm looking for a domed building. I think there's something in here. Yeah, the small temple here that has a dome-shaped roof. And this, you can see it does look smooth and round, and you can kind of see the dome shape in the shadow. And there's no option to do that in the house shape. The house tool cannot do domes. It can do many-sided shapes and complicated things, but it doesn't do domes as such. So for that, we do need to create our own symbols. And that's what I wanted to show you a bit more in the tutorial today. How do we go about creating a symbol like this? Let's take a quick look at the symbol manager. Here, our basic rectangular house symbol. See, we've got our shape here. Zoom out a bit. And let's just do a list of all the stuff in here. And you can see we basically have two things. We do have a picture entity which points to a PNG file, which is the roof image itself. And then we do have a control point, which is always a bit leasing from the name because it's actually a control line. And this is this red thing. And if I use a numeric edit command on that, it is that's what controls the line and insertion. Whether for doors it would say whether we want to cut the line we are placing it on, which controls cutting of walls, how it scales, and whether it's offset from the place point, like house symbols. And this is what controls the placement of the house symbols in the city style. Yes, Remy is right. This here doesn't have I think that's because it's turned off. Normally houses do have a polygon for demographic display. Let's have a quick look here. And this is hidden at the moment. That's on the structural colors. If I show that, and if I then do the info list again, we should have 3 entities. There you can see. And there's a color 7 polygon on the 7 is the varicolors option on the structural colors layer, and that does allow us to show demographic information on house shapes. By default it's off in this style, and that's why it didn't list there at first. I'm going to turn it off again. There we are. So this actually hides a bit of information because on how city symbols are set up, we do need 2 PNG files. One that has this image here, which you can see with the roof shape and the roof tiles, all drawn nicely by Mike Schley here. But there's another one which has the roof information, and we'll take a look at that in a second. Okay, so on to look at the details of this, we have to go outside of Campaign Cartographer and have a look into the PNG files that are referenced. That we are going to open the PSD file, and here we've got this is an example of that's the small temple you might have seen earlier. And if we open that in, why doesn't it open in Photoshop? It should normally open in Photoshop. Open with Photoshop. No. Okay. Quick look, video. The streams, roof shading, PNG file. There we are. I don't know why they didn't open originally. Well, Windows sometimes does strange things. And you can see this is the roof of the whole temple, but without any roof shading. That's why we have a second map. And there's this strangely colorful in red and blues map file, which gives us the information of where the roofs are facing and how steep they are in every location. And if you check, they are exactly the same size, so that Campaign Cartographer knows which point each color point here references on the original symbol. But otherwise, this only has the roof information. Name-wise, this one, they have the same name, except the roof image does have _map at the end of the file. And they need to be in the same folder. Let's take a quick look at one of the symbol folders in Campaign Cartographer. So symbols, cities, symbols at 5, cities of Schley, default. And here we have the different houses. This is the basic rectangular house. They all come in the different resolutions, from very high, high, low, and very low. So you've got all 8. One symbol is made out of 8 different PNG files, 4 for different scalings or display sizes, which are not strictly necessary. We can do with only 1, and then a corresponding one for the roof map every time. So, and how do we go about creating one of these? Yes, that's a little bit of manual work. You have to go into your original roof image and create the map from the roof map from that. And we'll do that as an example here with one of the existing roof maps. We'll take the temple because specifically that has a dome on it, and that's the trickiest part. And I want to show you how that works. So, see, we've got this here. And how do we go about creating roof shapes on this? Let's start with the most trickiest and central part of the dome. Basically, as the map file gives you the facing and pitch of every point on the roof, it is a kind of a 3D model of the 3D shape. And like Sue has done and was originally done, you can create a map like this by constructing it in a 3D and then doing a flat export of that and with color shading and stuff. But we'll here just use a reference file that we have available, which makes everything a lot easier, and which I'll be happy to provide in the notes for the video on the forum later on. That's the roof reference file here. We still have problems open this up directly through Windows, so I'll do it here. And here you can see the reference for lots of different roof shapes, which you can reuse in your own. For example, this is the shape for a domed roof. Let's take a look at the simple one, the standard house first, to understand the basic principle. You see they have these 3 different violets, and all the information is coded into the colors. So let's take this color up here, double click on the purple, and see the important thing is that it is encoded in the red, green, blue channel of the color. Basically, the let's see that I'm not lying here exactly. The red channel gives you the facing of the roof. The 0 is facing straight east, the 64 is straight up north, 128 is straight west, and the 192 is straight south, and this goes from basically 0 to 255. So 255 is straight, almost straight east again. The blue channel gives you the steepness of the roof. So this is the, again, this goes from, I believe it goes from 0 to 255. I'm actually not totally sure yet, with 255 being the steepest. And, actually here we can take a quick look at the dome, whether that's correct. See, dome is steeper, you further you are out. If I take a look at this, take this color here, you've got a 28. You know, that's the steepest one. And if I take a look here at the center, 255 is flat, or 255 will be flat. That's the one. Why does it only go down to 128? That's because it wraps around and basically around the circle, and 0 would be facing downwards, which we can't see, obviously, when we're just looking from 90 degrees up. That's why the steepness of the roof goes from 128 to 255 at the top. Yes, as Sue mentions, that's right. Basically, 129 would be facing slightly inward, and then you guys go further down and it faces ever more inward, which you are not able to see when you're looking from top. All right. So, and you have to fill in these colors for the areas you want to create on your map. So, for example, for this map, we've got basically an X-shaped roof, and without the dome. So let's take a look first at that. If I grab the standard house, for example, this is facing east, and of these shapes, this bit of the house, of the roof, and this bit would be facing east. So how do we create that? We would create a new layer on the map, and then we're gonna draw a selection here. I'm gonna follow the roof a bit. You could do that a little bit more. There we go. And then we'll just fill this area with the color. I don't need to. There we go. Oops. Let's fill this area here. Just outline our area where we want the shading to be. There we go. And then we're going to fill the area, and we've got the roof areas filled. Gonna then have to do the same with the other shapes. So let's have a look here. This side. Here we go. Oh, that is obviously the wrong color here, and I'm actually a little bit too far in here at this side, so I'm gonna remove a little bit of my selection here. Add a little bit of here. A bit too quick, so I need to go back to my other color. This is obviously facing west, so we're gonna pick up that color. Go back to this map and fill this area accordingly. And I'm going to go down here, grab this selection. See, there's no real way around doing some of this stuff manually. One of the reasons why city styles, if you want to have proper roofs, are quite work intensive to do. Go. So next up we're gonna do the north facing roofs, these ones. And these pieces of the roof. Yes, Sue mentions this can be done in basically any bitmap editor. I'm using Photoshop here because that's simply the stuff I'm usually using and I'm most comfortable with. Paint.net is another nice free one where you can do this quite easily in. And GIMP is another one which I haven't used really personally. So there's lots of different options available. Photoshop is certainly not the most affordable one. This is even a very old version of Photoshop because I'm not on the Adobe subscription model. But you tend to stick to the tools you've used in the past. So that's the north faces, and now we only need to do the south faces. Go. Right. One of them, and the other one. So you can see I'm sparing the flat pieces here, like the roof beams, because they should not have any shading because they're flat. There we are. So we've got the flat parts of the roof. Those are stairs outside. They don't get any shading. What we need now is the difficult part, and that's the dome. Fortunately, we do have some templates for that here in our reference file, in the domed roof. What's the difference? The dome has the changing slope on the outside, while we've also got the conical roof, which is easier, but it doesn't. It's basically a cone, not a dome. So we want to use the domed roof, and drawing this yourself is not something that's easily done. So what we're going to do, we're going to cheat a bit, and we're going to copy this one, and we are going to paste it in here on its new own layer and adjust it to the size we need. So I do want to make it smaller so we can fit it on here. So see that it was match the edges, and then increase the size until we fill the area there. And let's move it. Oh, okay, apply that. But we do have a little problem now that this creates. It's not going to be very visible, and I only noticed this after creating my first house sets after it had been released and had been noticed by someone else. So you can see the scaling in Photoshop does create a bit of a transition here between the two colors. Basically, the anti-aliasing that happens creates medium color in where there should be a clean break, and that will create a faintly visible line in Campaign Cartographer when the houses are so built. Yes, let me suggest changing the scaling algorithm, but probably we can if I would scale the image directly, but I can't find it, at least in the tool I'm using here. It's probably possible, but my workaround, which has worked quite nicely so far, is to just copy a line of pixels over here. Just copy this, copy, paste, and move it down so it covers that offending line. It's probably off, or if there were more colors in the image, it would probably be off, but with only 255 steps, it's probably the same as it would be. Otherwise, if it is slightly different, it's so slight that the difference that's not possible. There we go. And now I'm just gonna merge all these layers into one. But the thing that that's still wrong here basically is that it will also faintly shade the black outlines, because the roof maps are covering the black lines. That's not normally visible unless you make the house a vari-color, because the vari-color will tinge everything. It will also tinge the black a little bit, and that doesn't look so nice. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove the black parts from the mask layer. For that, we're going to go on the default layer and just select all the little black parts, and then go to the shading, remove those, and then we do have, actually there's some I should still remove, and that's the central part, because that is a flat part in the actual symbol that is not domed anymore. So we should remove this. We can simply do this. We could select a circle, but we do need to grab the endings of the beams here anyway, so I'm gonna do it with this tool. There we go. And we're gonna remove this, and there's our, I think it's actually supposed to be an opening in the dome at the top. All right, and that's our, I've been not entirely precise here. If I look at this, I've missed a little bit of the selection here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix that. I've got a little bit of the roof shining through. So I need to pick up this color and fill this area here. There we go. Then reselect the black. And remove that again. Okay, that's fixed. And now what I do is I hide the rest of the building, and I save this. I'm going to overwrite the one I had in there, because that's the correct name, small temple _ map. Going to overwrite this. And now I have my roof map for the symbol. And what we're going to do now is we're going to go in. I'm going to remove all this here. And I'm going to insert a new symbol. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little subfolder here, symbols, and then I'm going to do it directly underneath the map. I'm not going to bother about going into the campaign cartographer program data folder here. I'm going to just move it relative to the map. So symbols, import PNGs, browse to symbols, select one of the symbols. The resolution here is, I think, 40 to the drawing unit is correct, but it doesn't matter really much. I'm going to use down center as the insertion point. I'm not going to create other resolutions here, and I'm just going to do OK. Okay, yeah, the path is not in the CC folder. That is correct relative to C3 path. So I'm going to do it relative to the current drawing. When symbols were created, was created. All right, and let's take a look at the symbol manager. It should be now there at the bottom. There's the small temple. Again, we can set the options for sheets, symbols. And if we go in here, it should be in there, small temple. There we go. See one of the differences here is, see the small temple compared to the original one from Symbolset 5. That does look much nicer and smoother here in the preview. That's because this one doesn't have the lower resolution versions. Campaign Cartographer here finds the lower resolution, which has been scaled outside Campaign Cartographer, and looks fairly smooth and nice. Here, just the Campaign Cartographer does the preview at a very small scale itself, and it doesn't do such a good job at this low resolution, and therefore it does look a little bit more broken up. But if we place it here in the map, you'll see that it's just as detailed and nice as the original. And if we place this on the scale was a little bit different, doesn't matter. They should pretty much look the same, except that our shadows in the original are a little bit darker. And the dome is also a little bit different. See where the ones I had in Symbolset 5 are a little bit different from the settings. But in general, the principle works exactly the same. So how do we do a Varicolor version of this? If we take a look at the default symbols here, we do have the Varicolor version. Go there, grab that. We have a very strong Varicolor in there. And if we go in we have in our map here, Symbol Manager. Let's do a copy of the one we've created. This one here, clone. Let's call it small Varicolor. We should simply be able to go into options and set this as a Varicolor symbol. That's one of the neat things of the roof maps. They also work as a Varicolor map, if I've set it up correctly. And small temple, no, it's not. Okay, I think I forgot to set that up in the map file. Let's have a quick look. Let's open this up in Photoshop again. Here we are. Let's take a look. Grab the color. No, it is actually normally the green channel says whether it can be Varicolor or not, and green to 1 should be saying that it is Varicolor there. And I think all these have the green channel set to 1. Yes, they have. So I'm not entirely sure why this does not directly work as a Varicolor option. This is the Varicolor option is on here. Symbol Manager. No. Full list. Symbol definition, color 88. Let's have a look in comparison to the original symbol. To the temple here. Edit. Info list. Color 48. Structures. Shading. I think it does need to be on the other layer. Is that correct? Let's have a quick look. Yeah, this is really a bit of an advanced topic today. Yeah, let's change layer of the image here to structure shading. I think that allows it to work as a the option is to restart Campaign Cartographer in a moment. Let's give this a try first. doesn't work. Let's save the map, close it, and open it up again. Quick look here. No. Well, that's something I would have to look up again, how to make this a varicolor symbol. I remember it is being as easy as just setting it to the varicolor option, but either something has changed or I'm forgetting a step which I would have to look up, but no problem. It's not that important. What I wanted to show you quickly is how to set up the control point for the symbol. So let's do this. Still, let's change this to the structure shading. That way we can, we have that there, because we can now also create a shading the structure's colors reference shape here. So let's do that. Let's set a snap grid, small one, 5 snap grid, and then we can just draw a shape here that defines the outlines of our temple. There we go. Then make this change color and make this the varicolor version, and then hide the structures layer again. And now I want to add the control point. For that, we're just gonna turn on orthogonal here. By the custom control points are color 2, and they go on the symbol definition sheet layer. Sorry about that. And then I'm gonna go symbols, add control points. This should be at the point or on the side that the symbol is facing the street. So this is the front entrance of the temple, and it should have the full width of the symbol ideally, because that also makes it a reference to the size of the building. And then we should align it on insertion. We are not cutting on insertion. We don't want to cut the road. We are aligning this too. We're not scaling it to fit, but we're keeping the dynamic track scale. That's the scale we've set the symbol to. And we do want to offset it from the place point. There we go. Now we're going to save this again. Let's erase this here for a moment and draw a road. And try our symbol again. Structure colors. Okay. I should have set the image to the back here. That's one thing I want to do. That's because the symbol displays that entity, even the layer is hidden. So it's not as ugly in the preview here. We're gonna send this to the back. There we go. And still hide it, because otherwise edges of it might pop up and be visible. There we go. There's our small temple. Looking better now. And it should now align to the road. As you can see here, you can choose the side depending on where you move your mouse from the center of the road, and then set the distance you're placing this at. There we are. And our shading still works nicely. Let's scale it up a little bit. Oh, here we go. And there's our city symbol. And that's how you set up a house symbol, including roof shading. I do want to try that once more. Let's give this another try here. Delete. I want to clone this. I'm just curious about the Varicolor thing. Varicolor. Options. Varicolor symbol. Ah, that's the option I forgot. I need to set the roof entities are varicolor. That's what defines whether the roof map is also used as a varicolor map. That's what I forgot to set previously, and so you should now be able to see this as a varicolor version. There we go. Let's say I wanted to make a dark blue roof temple. Grab this. And there's our varicolor version of the symbol. Varicolor always washes out the shadows a little bit. That's not really avoidable with the technique that's used to create the varicolor. So you've got to live with that. But otherwise, it works very nicely. All right, and there we are, and that's how you create city house symbols with roof shading. But in general, unless you're looking at something very specific and want to dive into creating your whole own city styles, it's not something you normally have to bother with. What you do is grab one of the existing symbols. See, go here for one of the classic symbols. Grab a theater. Let's actually erase the stuff here on the map. Set it to normal. Align it, rotate it to your heart's content. And Campaign Cartographer takes care of all the nice round shadows here. See, this is basically two inverted conical roofs with the center punched out, and all taken care of. You don't need to bother about doing that yourself. If you want to add some more side symbols here, you can just grab the classic version of SS5C, if I can find that. East, Varicolor, gray shingles, default. Tiled, there's the tiled version. This one here. And there you have a matching outbuilding, also with the same roof shading and everything. Quick and easy without any special problems. Although it should be rare that you need to create your own house symbols. But still, it's an interesting sometimes to look under the hood and see how stuff technically works and how we go about setting up the stuff that you can simply use out of the box. And I hope that was interesting for you today. And you keep that in mind. Perhaps it helps a bit if something strange happens at a time when you're drawing your city maps, and so you know what's happening there and what you might want to do to fix it. Okay, there's a suggestion for making a playlist about advanced topics. There is actually a playlist and this is marked as a video in the advanced topics. I do them occasionally. I don't have a fixed schedule for these, but I do like to make them occasionally and do advanced topics like this. Hope you like that, even if it is not immediately perhaps useful for your map making, but as I said, I like sometimes to take a little peek under the hood and show you what's going on. Next week I'm going to be back to a more easily accessible. There's a request for looking at the old school Renaissance dungeon style in black and white, and I will be doing that next week and see what we can do to make that work nicely. Thanks until then, have a good week, and happy mapping. All the best. Bye bye.